everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of Female Film Critics Panel. And today we are diving into the world of television and series and some TV movies. We are talking about the year of series and streaming and television in 2024 so far. We've already done movies before, but now we're doing all of that fun stuff. It's going to be fun. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and Sari Cohen is here.
Hey,
How are ya?
I'm great. I'm so excited for this one.
I know. I mean, this has become kind of a biannual tradition
I love
that
it.
we're doing,
I
which I
love
love.
it. Yes.
We did it last year so far, and then we did the end of the year.
Mhm.
And yeah, how's your 2024 going?
Pretty good. I can't believe we're more than halfway through
I
it
know.
already. What is going on?
It's really true.
Oh
In
my
some
God.
ways, it's felt like the longest year, but in other ways, it's gone by so fast. I guess that's the
It's
way life usually is.
totally. Right
Yeah.
now I'm like on the life according to TV, like what's on TV at the time.
Yeah.
Right now it's Love Island season for me.
Oh, yeah. Do
I
you think
didn't
there's any true love on Love Island?
I am that person that believes that.
Yeah.
100%. My dream is to host a dating show. I've got
Uh,
like ideas, I've got things percolating. But yeah,
yeah.
that's totally my dream. And I love a good love story.
Hmm.
And I fully believe like my favorite thing about shows like that is like the the people who go on shows like that, the way it appears, or like any of them, Love Island, Too Hot to Handle, Love is Blind, they always come from a place that they're unsuccessful. They're bad. They're bad at love for whatever reason. And I like seeing them win. Like I like seeing them, people watch it for all different reasons, the highs and lows, and maybe some people like train wrecks. You
Hmm.
know, I know there's that are like the attraction to the drama. But yeah, I like seeing people win. I just
Yeah.
recently, I will admit, like I'm not a big for as much as I love dating reality shows, I'm not a big Bachelor fan. I never
Hmm.
really got into it. I did the Golden Bachelor for a little bit and then just started getting into the Bachelorette. And I got it to, have you seen it?
Well, I used to when I had roommates that they were super into it, and so I would watch it sometimes. But I haven't seen it for. I mean, I've had roommates for many, many, many years. So no, not since the early days.
I have to tell you, the level of drama between these males. Rachel, my
Yeah,
mouth, like I almost had to record like something, just like
yeah,
reaction with it, because
yeah,
I was like, is this what I've been missing?
yeah.
What is going This is
I bet
wild.
that's some drama. I mean, I did not watch the show, but
Yeah.
this last season of The Bachelor, I mean, they're always attractive, don't get me wrong, but this guy, oh my gosh, he was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
Yeah.
I'm like, somebody turned him down? Are you kidding me? What?
Well, then they have the whole spin-offs, right? So they do the whole like Bachelor in Paradise, and so it's like if you miss your shot at love the first time, there's always a second, third, fourth, and obviously, the fan following that comes with it. I mean,
Hmm.
you could actually, they really are so smart in their casting and the way that they produce it, because as you're watching it, you could see like even if this love connection doesn't happen, you could see them kind of carving out their path for the future. You're like, oh, this is a character that's going to come back. This is,
Hmm.
so those
Yeah.
things are like, yes, you can get lost in the drama, but at the heart, I
You
mean,
can
like I said,
see
with
the
Steph,
casting directors going.
totally. I still will always fight for the
Yeah.
good love story. Like
Yeah.
the sap in me is like Love
Well,
Island all the way.
have you heard about this reality TV that Hallmark's going to be doing?
Oh yes,
So
tell
that's
me
pretty
more about
exciting.
this. Yeah, we
Yes,
started
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about it a little
So
bit.
they're going to be having like three series. One of them is going to be a like HGTV kind of series with actually I have four series now, I think. They're going to be having four series. One is going to be HGTV type series with Luke McFarlane is like renovating homes or something for people.
Okay.
And
I'll
then,
watch.
and then one of them is going to be with Ashley Williams doing some kind of matchmaking dating thing, hometown dad
Yeah.
matchmaking. And then there's going to be Lacey Chabert doing like party, like throwing a party for deserving people or something like that. And it's so funny in the little description that they gave in the press release. They're like actress and philanthropist Lacey Chabert. Which
Yes,
I don't want to
Lacey.
hold anything from her, but I had no idea she was a philanthropist. I mean, I just didn't know. So who knows? I mean, she's a, I know, I
I
just thought that was funny.
love that.
Way to describe her. Yeah. And then there's this Finding Mr. Christmas series with Jonathan Bennett and Melissa Peterman, where they're going to be like finding the perfect ideal Hallmark leading man, I guess. And I'm not that big of a reality TV person in general. Like I don't want Hallmark to become the next TLC. That is not for me. But I have to say, I mean, I'm really looking forward to especially Melissa Peterman and her commentary on these guys.
They're going to be great together. I actually
Yeah,
met
yeah, I
both
think
of
so.
them at the Hallmark Christmas party last year,
Uh-huh.
and they're so cool. And then to
Yeah,
imagine them actually, like I got to hang out with them separately, and then to imagine them doing a show together, I think, and a
yeah.
show like that,
It's gonna be
perfect
fun.
pairing.
I'm
It's going to be
excited.
so much fun to watch. I think it's so smart of Hallmark. I mean, you're keeping your, your core Hallmark people
Yeah,
and you're bringing them into this world. And I love it. I love that they're tapping into the
yeah.
reality space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and they're certainly going to be keeping me busy because not only do they have that, but and of course the 40 Christmas movies, but they have two series of movies. They have the regular Fall into Love on Hallmark Channel, but then on Hallmark Plus, there's going to be this Love on the Danube series of movies, which I'm really looking forward to. And then they have this new series, The Chicken Sisters, it's called, which is, I guess, based on a book. I got to read it before the series because I've heard it's very popular. But it's got Leah Thompson in it,
Yep.
so
Yep.
yeah,
That looks very interesting. When we were talking about that, I went on a deep dive with that. And I love her. I mean, she's
yeah, oh
another
yeah.
one that I've gotten to interview, and she's like oh my God, my heart. Of course, and then you know what I told her when I met her, out of all of her movies, I just looked at her and I was like, Howard the Duck changed my life.
What did she say?
She was so sweet. Well, I told her, I actually said to her, I said there's like for her that movie, and of course there's all of her movies, but like that
Uh-huh.
movie for me stood out. And like I told her, I was like, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today had it not been for you and that movie. Like I don't honestly know that I would be
Who
here. And
knew that
she
it was
was
so
like,
influential on
you
Sari
know,
Cohen? I
she
had no
was great.
idea.
Gave me a hug. It's like Howard the Duck.
Oh,
Okay. But she was lovely. She was lovely.
that's
So
funny.
I'm happy to see her
Yeah.
in anything and everything. I think she's a treasure.
I
More
did not
Ray
think you were
Thompson.
going to say Howard the Duck.
I don't think she did either. She's like
That's
Back to the
funny.
Future, Some Kind of Wonderful. Like what?
Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a patron. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies.
Let's talk about some of the series. I have not watched that much, but I have watched some. My favorite thing this year by far is definitely All Creatures Great and Small season 4. It was perfect. literally, I wouldn't change a single thing. I mean, the only thing I guess I would change is that I would have, Tristan there. He wasn't on this season, but there he's coming back. Yeah. For seasons 5 and 6. I'm so happy. I mean, this is why they were so smart. They just had him go off into the war because it said, and that's it. They didn't like kill him off or like they didn't like Downton Abbey it. They didn't screw it up. So then he could come back. And I'm so glad because I just love it so much. It's so good. And well, I guess no, it's set in World War II. Anyway, it's great. The characters, the romance, the stories, the puppy, the various animals, adorable. It's just a great show. I think it's the best thing on television.
Wow. The best thing on television.
Yes, even though I've only watched like 5 shows, I still think it's the best show on television.
No, but that's
so good. It's it's such a joy to watch, and I'm so excited for the new season. Yeah.
I love that. That's what a good show does.
Mm-hmm.
I watch a lot of TV. I cover a lot of TV. So I do a great deal of my work is just binge watching shows. So I love finding a show that really surprises me. Like if I watch a show that doesn't have to do with work, no, it's a good show. So one of those for me was Sugar with Colin Farrell.
Oh.
And it was recommended through my sister-in-law's mom. I was in the middle of whatever I was doing. She was, no, Sari, stop everything. Watch the show now. And it is, a drama thriller. It has a big twist in it. It has it goes in a really wild direction. Colin Farrell is phenomenal. I think it is one of his best roles, really, and in television. He's so good. It's a great show to get lost in. It's a great show to binge watch. It will keep you on the edge of your seat. You think you have it figured out and then you don't. I don't think there are a lot of shows that can do that. I kind of figured it out towards the end. I was like, oh, I think it's going to be this. But it is.
Is it standalone? Like, is it an anthology series or is it multiple? Multiple seasons.
This is the first season.
Yeah.
They absolutely could. They left it in a way that, if it ended in season 1, it would be just phenomenal. But it absolutely could go on and should go on.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Yeah.
Well, the only other series that I saw that I liked, genuinely liked, was the only other series that I genuinely liked was probably The Way Home season 2. It was uneven. It was a bit uneven, but especially the 1814 stuff. Oh, I love it so much. So good. I was a huge fan of Thomas. I like him better than Elliot. Like, who needs Elliot? We don't need him. I loved him so much. And overall, I thought they did a good. There was it wasn't perfect, but I overall thought it was a good second season.
Listen, that's okay. I mean, I feel like a good example of that Supernatural kind of, it has that same kind of fandom to me of like, I mean, I'm a hardcore Supernatural fan. Never say to a Supernatural fan that the show wasn't perfect. They will. I used to write for Screen Rant, and I did a lot of Supernatural coverage. And anytime I would be like, "This character's been on too long. This character, they should have ended the show." But it is one of those things of like, is it going to be perfect? Are there going to be holes? Could they have done? Should they have?
Well, they just need to work on Del's character. That her arc was very underwhelming, and then I'm glad that they now have Elliot going back in time because he was just very frustrating.
Yeah,
it was easy to root for Thomas because Elliot was just a whiny, annoying.
Oh, Elliot.
He was frustrating. And because they didn't really give him anything to do. His role was to like comment and complain about what the women are doing. Like he didn't have any real autonomy as his own story in the script. So I'm hoping now that he has time traveled, he maybe will time travel more. I'm hoping that he will have more autonomy as a character and just be less annoying.
Yeah, this show can go lots of different ways, but but the people that love it, like we love it so much. So we're already so invested. We're gonna have opinions. We're just gonna have opinions about it and still love the show.
Yeah. I also think that When Calls the Heart had an extremely effective season 11. I still think it was just insane that they couple swapped basically at the end of that. They were like, oh, we're tired of her being with Lucas. Now she's going to be Nathan. Like they'd been building that up for 2 seasons, and it was just bizarre and crazy. And it was like and they made the switch just like in the middle of the season, like out of nowhere. It was so fun to podcast about, but it was like bizarre. And but once they made that change for now season 11, I think it was actually a really good season, and gave a lot of those feels that those viewers who watch When Calls the Heart are going to want. And I mean, they were making us wait so long for them to have their first kiss, but it was like, okay. But overall, I just think it was a very well done season for When Calls the Heart. So that was good.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some, I feel like there's a recommendation for every genre, no matter what you love. Palm Royale also was a big one for me this year that I thought was really good.
I heard that's good.
It is so good. That's another one that I didn't cover personally, but got into it with Kristen Wiig, Allison Janney, Laura Dern, Ricky Martin.
Yeah.
The cast is phenomenal and everybody is so good in their own right. It's such a it's a very, I feel like if you like those actors, if you just like good acting and good storytelling.
Another one I thought was good was My Lady Jane. Did you watch that?
Oh, I loved My Lady. Yeah, I know the cast. I loved My Lady Jane.
Yeah, it was really fun. I think that we needed more with our couple. They were, especially that 6th episode, they were separated almost the whole episode. And we got a lot of Mary. Like, I appreciate that they really leaned into the camp in that role. And the actress, I think, did a brilliant job. Yeah. But there were times like, we don't need quite as much of her screaming and yelling. But I still overall really enjoyed it. It was creative. It was funny. It was sexy. It was basically everything I think you could want, it was a strong start for the show, I think.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yeah. Totally love that one.
Well, and as far as others, the only other like series that I watched, if we're going to talk about reality, since we were talking about reality TV, I did really enjoy this last season of Top Chef. It was very good. Oh. I was really surprised the Danny won. I was not expecting that. I really thought that Dan was going to win, not Danny. Dan, I don't know. I just felt like his narrative coming over this disability, and his food always looked so good. And I was, and he was from Wisconsin. That's where the season was set. I don't know. There was just so many things I thought, oh, this would make such a narrative, and I didn't see them sort of saying that same narrative with Danny, and his food just didn't look as good. And so I was really surprised that Danny won, but it was still, I think, a very fun season. It was neat to see Kristen taking over for Padme, something different, so that was fun. But let's talk about the series that didn't work.
Oh no, I have so many that did still. What didn't work? I probably skipped over the one that didn't.
Bridgerton season 3.
Oh.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, I'm so frustrated because finishing up I knew they weren't confident, at least in episode 7 and 8, because the fact that those were the only 2 that they didn't give any critics that I knew, at least, They did not give those episodes. They only gave through episode 6. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that? Because it's obviously because they knew those were sort of more controversial episodes, 7 and 8. And they knew the reviews wouldn't be as good if they gave them 7 and 8. And they were absolutely correct, because 7 and 8 sucked. And I just will never understand like what they were thinking, that they have their that I just will never understand what they were thinking. That you want to have your lead couple that we've been building up for 3 seasons, that you want them to have a miserable wedding where they're hardly speaking to each other. They barely get married at all. It almost doesn't happen. They're not talking to each other. And then him on the sofa for 2 episodes. It just makes no sense. Like, it's so frustrating me, because I just feel like if they had, because in the book, he knows about Whistledown pretty early on, right? And he's upset about it, but he still loves her anyway. He tells her that. He says, I'm upset with you, but I still love you. And like something like that would have meant so much. And if when they have that meetup on the street and they have that kiss, right? If he had like started the reconciliation process there and gotten into that carriage with her and still been upset, still been mad, but like, we're building, right? So that way the marriage, the wedding would have been a happy event. Mm-hmm. And then you wouldn't be on the sofa for 2 episodes. And it was just such an abominable failure in writing. I just could not believe it. It made me so mad. And them spending so much time on this Benedict threesome, which was totally meaningless and stupid. And pretty much every other side relationship. I mean, Kate and Anthony had nothing. They were just there to be like, we have a baby, like, or we're getting pregnant. Like, there was nothing. There was no story. It was so ridiculous. And it just made me so mad, because it's one thing for something to suck. It's another thing to have all of the pieces. You have you have great performance. You have great chemistry. You have all of the other pieces. It's there. And, sometimes I think that's the most frustrating thing of all. And I just will never understand that who over there in Bridgerton world was like, let's have Colin sleeping on the sofa for 2 episodes. That sounds great. Like,
I mean, do you think it's just one of those shows that can't lose? Is it just one of those shows that's like, no matter what they do with it, like they started here, and it's really hard when you start a show here. I mean, it doesn't give much room. Where's it going to go? Hopefully
I just feel like it's the book's right there. Like, you've got it. Like, all they had to do was like translate the book. I mean, and of course things are going to be a little bit different here and there, but
do you think it was like, I don't know.
No, what I think that there's all these quotes of Shonda saying like, we wanted to add more drama. We wanted to, and usually what that means is that they are hoping to get Emmys. They're hoping to be, super important. And for a lot of people, like, romance and rom-coms, comedy, whatever, is seen as less important, right? So you got to like dramatic it up. You got to add in all this passion, whatever. And so like, that's why we got Queen Charlotte with abuse and marital strife and mental illness, and then it followed up by this series where like they were trying to give Penelope this like girl boss moment where she's like at the end, which she has in the book, but she like in the book when she gives this speech before the tone, he's there with her holding her hand and they do it together. And but no, you can't do that because she's like an independent, powerful woman, right? So you can't have her like, and so they basically had to like find a way to kind of neuterize. They basically had to find a way to make Colin like almost irrelevant. And so that it was all Penelope, all her. He was completely wrong. She was completely right. And she gets to be up there being like, you don't understand what it is to be a woman. And you, and I was the right person in this situation, right? I'm going to make everything. I'm a powerful woman, you know, and him saying to her, like, you were bloody brilliant and, you know, all this stuff. So it's the idea that you like need a partner somehow makes you like weaker in the eyes of these people, which is so ridiculous and stupid. You know, it's the same thing that we're seeing with this Twisters thing. They're like, you can't have it end with a kiss because that makes it all the only thing that the female character cares about. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, women like to be kissed and have a great career at the same time. Like, how does that make her a weaker character? Or the director saying that, oh, if we ended it with a kiss, that would be all it's about. I'm like, why? That be all it's about. Like, she should be able to get kissed by Glenn Powell and be a great scientist. Like, this is ridiculous. It shouldn't be one or the other.
100%.
And so that's why they did it, is they wanted to be like important and dramatic and whatever. And so and it just sucked. I don't know anybody that liked those 7 and 8. I just could not believe that they screwed it up as bad as they did. It made me I was so upset. Like, I'm not kidding. I was like, it still makes me so mad. They had it. You know, they have this great chemistry. They have a great book that it's based on. They got like,
it was like what was the movie, the Anne Hathaway one that we just
The Idea of You.
The Idea of You. Thank you. Yes. What I loved so much about that was because at the end, which was different than the book. They actually gave, I felt that you're right. It was more empowering, the fact that she ended up with him, that she made the choice of like, I choose me and I choose him. I can have it all.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. Also, but Shonda Rhimes is known for creating that kind of female character. She does it in all of her series. So
the thing is too, is that I was really upset too about the whole Michaela thing. Like, I'm fine if they had, I was just annoyed because Michael Sterling in the book with Francesca is probably the best dude in all of Bridgerton. And like, his character arc is unique to being a man because he has inherited his cousin John's estate, right? And so like but he's been in love with Francesca from day one. He's been in love with her. She hasn't even noticed him at all. And so he's had to like sit there like pining for her, but he can't do anything. And so he like goes off to India. He's like and trying to and he waits 4 years before doing anything or saying anything after John dies in the book. 4 years. And then he finally makes a move, and she's like totally resistant to it because she's like, I love John, you know, and so it's like this beautiful love story. And it like, if you were to ask Bridgerton readers, almost all of them would have when he was wicked in the top 2, at least, for sure. It's by far one of the most popular books. And so for them to like, what they have done in Michaela is, it's not just gender swapping, because his arc, Michael Sterling's arc, is unique to being a man at that time, right? Because women couldn't inherit property. Women couldn't, like, you just can't do it. The same story. So what they've done is they basically eliminated Michael as a character, and they created a new character with a similar name. Right. And that doesn't mean it can't be good. Like, it could still be a good story. I'm doubtful now with their storytelling ability, but it's just annoying. I was like, first of all, you could just create a new character that's a good, you know, own character, and we could still have Michael. Or there were so many other spots that you could have gender swapped, and I think would have been more satisfying or made more sense. Why do you have to get rid of Michael? He's so good. Like, everybody loves him.
It's
was so annoyed.
really, really hard when you're working with original material, when you're adapting something. It's like
And
it's
and
almost impossible to hit
and
it on the head.
I'm not like a strict person when it comes to adaptations. Like for instance, Penelope, her first child is a girl in the books, not a man, not a boy. And it's named Agatha in the book. And I'm fine with that. No problem. I don't care that they changed it to a boy for this. Fine. Like, but like literally eliminating the lead character. You know what I mean? Like there's changes here and there, but eliminating an entire lead love interest, that's a big change.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that like what frustrates me too is that when people pretend that like, oh well, you're just like a homophobic person or whatever, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I just liked this character, and I want it. Like, you're not a bad person if you liked a book and you wanted the lead character that you liked to be portrayed and not be eliminated. Like,
That's totally understandable.
you know what I mean?
I would be, yes, it's a very confusing thing when you walk in to watch something and you're like, where's the lead character?
The whole character that we knew and loved. And so,
yes. And that is what, if you are a fan of material, you want to see that portrayed on the screen because
and it's not only that, because they had like built up this sweet, subtle relationship between John and Fran in the series. And then to have her have this response to meeting Michaela, again, in the book, Michael waits 4 years before, like, and Francesca has absolutely no clue that he's interested in her or that he has any idea. She hasn't any idea. And like to me, having her meet Michaela and have this like, oh, I can't even remember my name or who I am, like that to me was stupid because it kind of hurt her relationship with John that they've been building up all season. Why would you do that? The writing was just so bad, and it's so frustrating.
Probably the idea was, like you said, I mean, you could go either way with it. You can when you're adapting material, you can play it safe, or someone like Shonda Rhimes, she's gonna take risks. She's gonna be like, let's rewrite it, let's redo it, let's switch this up, there's been it's hard so one thing that was successful, if you're gonna on the subject of like keeping with the canon, was Fallout.
Oh yeah, I heard that was good. I didn't see it.
So for people, I did not play the game. I wasn't a gamer at that point in time, but like from what I understand, I mean, the show itself is phenomenal, and I know enough about it to know what they took from it. But out of all the shows that are done, that are adapted from the video game world, that show got a lot of praise for doing it right. Yeah. And that's hard, man.
I heard that.
You do have like Halo. There was a lot of like, mixed feelings about that. There's the video game
Last of Us, I know, was pretty popular.
Oh, The Last of Us was really good. The Last of Us was a great show. But yeah, Fallout was a surprise for me. Again, as someone who not really, I didn't play the game, but it hit. It was like they were really smart. Yeah.
Well, one more quick thing about Bridgerton, and I promise to move on. So they just announced Benedict and for season 4. Do you really think they're going to make us wait 2 years? I found that so baffling that they announced him now. Like the only thing that I could see is that they saw that so many people were upset about season 3. So they're like, we need to change the discussion real quick. And so let's start talking about season 4 already. Because otherwise it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you announce it now? And it's not going to be for 2 years. I kind of have a funny feeling that because even the last one, it didn't take them 2 years. It took them like a year and a half but it was just delayed 6 months because of the strike. And so I have kind of a feeling the next fall it's going to be a surprise.
Well, that would
Okay.
be cool. I think you
Yeah.
might be right with the first, like, diverting attention, let's kind of change the narrative.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't
Because people are like, oh, well, so many people watched it. I'm like, yeah, so many people watched it and we're upset.
Well, again, it's one of those shows that, like, you really can't. It's
I don't know
like
anybody that liked that.
you can't, but
The
you
part 2.
have.
I don't know anyone that liked part 2.
But even them not liking it will not deter them from coming back. No Bridgerton fan
No, you're
is
right.
going to be like, I hated it so much, I'm done with Bridgerton. No, it'll probably even more. They're going to be like, I have to know. It's got to get better, right? They're not losing any fans.
But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they do give it to us next year. Maybe like or boy, I sure wish they would do like a Christmas special. That would be so nice.
They should.
They
That's
should.
a really good idea.
How Creatures Great and Small does, Downton Abbey does, like did.
That's a really good idea. That's where they'd get the nom too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, it broke my heart. I've never been so disappointed in my life.
Oh, I can feel it for you. I can feel your passion. Like, I'm with you. I'm with you.
But as far as there's been some really good TV movies this season, or streaming movies. About it, like the line gets very blurry, but of course you had Hitman was really good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See, it took me a second I'm like, oh yeah, what was that? Yes, that's right.
So good. Glenn Powell. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Glenn Powell. Woo! Summer of Glenn Powell. Glenn Powell summer. That man deserves it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another one I loved is Ultraman Rising. Beautiful animation, really good story. It's interesting because we've had this this MonsterVerse kind of series with they had Godzilla X Kong this year, which I thought was terrible. And then, but like on the animated and on the smaller side, it's been really good in the kaiju. So we've gotten Ultraman Rising. Of course, Godzilla -1 was so excellent last year.
Yes.
And so that's the way to go, not the big budget, in my opinion, at least.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was really good. And then what else? Okay. So there's been a lot of good documentaries on there's the Beach Boys documentary, Jim Henson Idea Man, Butterfly in the Sky about reading Rainbow. The Bratz I was mixed on, but it was all right. Skywalker, a love story. Did you ever see that?
No, I didn't see that one.
Skywalker is a love story. Yeah, it's about these people that go up to these extremely high buildings. Like they go way up to the like antennas and stuff and do these like crazy walks and like, and they're this married couple.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's pretty fun.
Wow.
I saw it at Sundance. So,
that's really cool.
Yeah. And The Greatest Night in Pop, that was a really fun documentary. This on Netflix about the I Am the World. We are the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and it was just like, I don't even like that song that much. It's a total earworm, but like it was so well put together, and so like the interviews were so good. It was so entertaining, and like particularly, I just thought it was so funny. They talk about that Stevie Wonder, I guess, was like the nicest guy in the world, and he was helping Ray Charles find the bathroom, and they were like, "It's the blind leading the blind."
Oh my gosh.
Really funny.
Oh god.
Yeah. And then I mean, this is, I don't know where to really, I haven't talked about this on my channel, but it's not really like a television show. It's a YouTube video, but I don't care. Jenny Nicholson and the Spectacular Failure of the Star Wars Hotel. Did you watch this video she did?
No.
It was brilliant. I loved it so much. It's the kind of thing that I watched and I'm like, well, that's I think YouTube's done. Like, that's the best it can be.
Wow.
It was so good. And the way that she was able to go through just systematically and not just critique the Star Wars Hotel, but critique Disney and the corporation in its current status. And it was so good. I mean, and you never would think I'd want to watch a 4-hour video about the Star Wars hotel, but it was absolutely riveting and brilliant.
Wow.
Yeah. So good.
I'm adding that to my list.
Yeah. It was, I mean, I watched it over several days. It was, I just really admired it as a YouTuber and as a content creator and as just a Disney fan, and the way she was able to it was just such a brilliant example of like kind of classic, you have your thesis and you defend it point by point by point by point, systematically and thoroughly. And it was very good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you watch The Acolyte, the Star Wars?
I have not.
Me either.
I have not gotten into that.
Yeah, it's not good.
I get really lost in that lore now because there's so much. I just feel like it's so oversaturated.
Yeah, and this is frustrating because it was like they're doing the High Republic. They're doing way before Skywalker, way before any of this. And so it could be a chance to have all these new characters and all these, but everything I've heard about it is like, not great.
It's hard. It's hard. If you lose track of one, it's just, you don't know what you need for another and what stands alone and what it's very hard to keep up, especially with so much content coming at you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great every time that I do see something in that world. I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. But I'm not invested in it. Yeah.
The other show, I forgot to mention this before, but the other show that was disappointing this season was Heartland season 17. It was frustrating because they had like some really good moments, but they only having 10 episodes a season. So it felt like all build, because they used to have 20 episodes in Heartland and now they're only having 10. And it felt like all build up, no payoff. He was like, what? That's it? That's the end? And they
you the episodes in half. I mean, that's all you've got time for.
Like, I feel like at least like it's frustrating what Outlander did, having a 7-part A and a 7-part B that we're finally going to get this fall. Like that's frustrating, but at least it's more like intellectually honest than if they had called it that was season 7 and then season 8.
Outlander is not letting down their fans.
Yes,
absolutely. That show,
that is you're absolutely right that is a consistent show. It is so well acted, so well done. And of course it doesn't get nominated for any Emmys, which is a joke, but it has not disappointed me yet.
Absolutely. I agree. I think it's gonna go down as like really truly one of the best shows in television for that reason. And
they've been very lucky. They haven't had to deal with cast departures. This other shows like One Calls the Heart and Downton Abbey and things like that have had to deal with, and so they've been lucky that they've been able to keep it. Same thing with Heartland, actually. Well, almost the same thing with Heartland. Then they lost Ty, they've been able to they've just been able to tell kind of the stories they wanted to tell and keep the fans really happy because they've been able to keep their cast.
Yep.
As a big part of it, I think. But they also, like, I just feel like so often in television, this is why I'm more of a movie person than a television person, but so often the showrunners are like, I'm getting bored with this, or they want to like make their mark, their impression. So they're like, we're gonna, and they mess it up. And then they're like, I can't believe everybody was upset. I'm like, of course everybody was upset.
That was a hard move. I mean, listen, I'll go back to Supernatural. That was a hard move. I think to me, I think the first 5 seasons of Supernatural, the 5 seasons that Kripke penned out and knew like that was how he was going to arc his story. I think it was some of the most perfectly crafted television I have ever seen. That was as much of a perfect story as you could tell. And the show was such a success that when he stepped down and handed over showrunner responsibilities, I mean, it just went off the rails. And I mean, they didn't lose fans. It was like one of the longest running shows of all time.
That's why you got to admire like The Good Place and Gravity Falls and shows like that, where they're like, we're going out. Like,
Yeah. It's hard though. I
yeah,
mean,
it's
it's hard
hard, but
when you love the characters and you love the material that's coming out. Sometimes it doesn't even matter. You're like, does it even have to be good? I don't know. As long as I'm getting
yeah.
my
There are very few shows though that haven't disappointed me though. I mean, that's why I like, and again, that's why I like movies better than television. I as far as like really nailing it all the way consistently, like Drop Dead Diva did that for me. I loved that show so much. The Nanny did that for me. Um
there are
there's other shows that I love. Like I really did love 24. And I think that one did pretty well as far as the last two seasons aren't as strong, but they're not like awful. They're decent. Um
I think with
Sex in the
streaming,
City, I think
yeah,
landed real strong. I know
yeah. But
some people don't like the finale, but I like it.
I love, no, that was, it was, I think, a different world with broadcast when we were just dealing with like a handful of networks.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
you're right.
had, I mean, Cheers was one of the best endings of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I think with streaming, it becomes a little bit more challenging. I mean, you start watching these shows and just getting lost in one season. I mean, I could say like Hotel Cocaine was a great show. Three Body Problem I loved. I just got into what is it, Geek. I just saw it just kind of got an Emily in Paris vibe. Or was it Geek or Geek Girl? Geek Girl, I
Mm-hmm.
think. Anyway, it was so strong and so good with one season, but you know there's going to be, I don't know if they're doing a season two, and if they are,
Yeah.
like Emily in Paris, there's going to be a giant gap in it. So you lose the momentum of it. It's great. You're into the first season. You can binge watch all of it and then
Yeah. See,
forget
that's the
about
other
it because you're
thing that
lost in
happens.
everything else.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It ends up being disappointing, or it just kind of like just becomes tired and I lose interest. Like that was definitely the case with Glee for me. That was definitely the case with The Office. I was a super fan for a long time, and then I
Mhm.
just kind of lost interest after a while. Yeah, it's but yeah, I mean, and I think it's harder in the world of streaming just to make that mark, and just you try to do the more like outlandish, get people talking kind of things. But a lot of times that the things that people are talking about, it's not because they liked it, but because they're so frustrated with it.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
It's hard to keep the momentum of it. I mean,
Yeah.
you'll see like The Peripheral. I love with Chloe Grace Moretz.
Uh-huh.
That was such a great show, and because of the strike, it was one of those that
Mm,
got axed because of the
bad.
time in between seasons. But it's like you still find those shows that stand alone,
Mhm.
that are worth the watch and worth the
Mhm.
binge, and
Yeah.
you'll just get hooked on something else. You like, hop to the next thing.
Well, some other TV movies that I really loved. I really loved Musica. Did you ever watch
I
that?
didn't get to
Rudy
see it, but I heard it was phenomenal. Yeah.
Really good. And I got to interview Rudy on a Hallmarkies podcast, and I was like so excited about it because I really loved the movie. It was like such a wonderful sort of dive into the mind of creative,
Mhm.
and get to know him and who he was, and I just really enjoyed it. And his mom plays his mom in the movie, which is kind of fun.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. I did really enjoy The Idea of You. I thought that was very solid.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let's see here. What else? A Young Woman in the Sea. I thought, I mean, I knew Trudy's story because I'd read read the book, The Great Swim, and she's phenomenal. And I thought it was entertaining. It's really hard to make swimming cinematic because your face is in the water the whole time, and so it's hard to kind of, as opposed to like basketball or running, when you can kind of focus and you can get that expression, you can get that. And so I think they did just about as good a job as they could do for that.
Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was, obviously we know the story, but it wasn't too unexpected for me. It was like kind of right on par with what I expected it to be.
Yeah. Another one I liked from Disney was Big City Greens, the movie. I had never seen Big City Greens, the series. It was new to me. And so I asked my friends, I'm like, will I, get the movie? Is it, standalone? They're like, yeah, it is. And it inspired me to want to watch the show. It's very charming. It's very similar to Mitchells versus the Machines, which is a film I love, but it's very similar. This family going on a road trip, and they end up with all the shenanigans, they end up in space. But the dad is very overprotective. The kid wants to, spread his wings. And but I liked the animation. I thought it was cute. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. We're big City Greens
nieces.
Well, fans. Yeah, I've got nieces and a nephew. So
have you seen the movie?
No, I haven't seen the movie.
You should watch it.
But the show plays in this house.
You'd like it. I think you'd like it then. The other thing that I loved is called Welcome Home, Franklin. And this Peanuts is almost never missed. I mean, they are just it's like such a great franchise. And this Welcome Home, Franklin short featurette, it's like 40 minutes, was so lovely. It was so good. We've never really gotten to know Franklin that well. And he's new in town. He's just moved there. He starts to meet all of course, Linus, Pigpen, Lucy, everybody. And then him and Charlie Brown become friends. And they end up entering the soapbox derby. So they're building their car together. And Franklin introduces Charlie to John Coltrane and jazz music. And it was just so lovely. I loved everything about it. It was really good.
Aww.
Yeah. That's on Apple Plus. Check it out. All of the Snoopy Presents are really good.
Yeah.
Did you watch Descendants Rise of Red?
I did not. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I recommended it. I liked the whole, I'm a sucker for time travel stories.
Yeah.
And I like the whole idea of these two girls kind of coming to know their mothers better and understanding them. So I liked the overall concept. It was enjoyable enough. Always fun seeing Brandy as Cinderella and Paulo back, is charming. And so that was fun. And so I enjoyed it. It was definitely, you could tell this is the first one not directed by Kenny Ortega, because it just didn't have the dance, the songs, especially the dance, because he's a choreographer at heart, and it just didn't, there was nothing that was that special as far as the dancing, which something I look forward to in these movies.
Yeah.
So that was the only part that I said in my review, I was like, there was a Kenny Ortega sized hole in this. I missed that. I think the second one is definitely the best.
Yeah.
You got that water dance scene. So good.
Yeah.
It's right out of Step Up 3D, but I don't care. It was still really good.
Totally. You nailed that. Yes.
So that was fun.
Plays in my head rent free all the time.
Yeah. Did you watch, I know you got sent the Signed, Sealed, Delivered. Did you watch it?
I haven't seen it yet. No, I know.
Yeah.
Also,
have you seen the series? Do you know?
I know of it, but I haven't seen the series. Yeah.
It was good. There's not a bad Signed, Sealed, Delivered, but it did feel a little filler because they're doing two. And usually there's sort of more, there's more drama associated with the actual letter that they're investigating and what's happening. And this was more about their relationships. And so it was still, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't one of my favorites, that's for sure.
Okay.
So, what else did I want to talk about? Mother of the Bride, that wasn't good.
Oh, yeah. See, I didn't see that either.
No.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was bare basics rom-com, but nothing much more. nothing much more. And then Irish Wish, I actually had fun with. Most people I know hated it, but I thought it was kind of funny. But I like that Lindsay Lohan is kind of leaning into screwball comedies and being a
Yeah,
little
I
over the top, a
agree.
little silly
I
in her
agree.
recent ones. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I
'Cause-
agree. I think it
yeah.
suits her well at this
Mhm.
point in time. I
Yeah.
was happy to see her own the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. There was The Imaginary, which was an anime that went to Netflix, but that was not that great. Orion, one I think is definitely underrated this year that went to streaming is Orion in the Dark.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very sweet. I probably liked it as much as Inside Out too.
I feel
Both
like
the
there was
same.
that's true. Inside Out 2 definitely got a lot more buzz around it, obviously. But yeah,
One of the most successful movies ever made. And Orion in the Dark didn't even get a theatrical, like nothing. It just
yeah.
got dumped onto Netflix. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a cute little movie about anxiety and this little kid, and I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Weird.
Yeah.
I think I talked about everything. Did you have anything else that you want to talk about?
Oh my gosh, girl, it would be like a whole other hour of, where do I start? No, I mean, listen, I'm sure, there is a giant list of TV shows now
Uh-huh.
from
I still haven't
22
caught
where-
up with Shogun. I know that people say that was fantastic.
Yeah.
I just haven't had time.
Yeah, I mean there is just so much good content out there. I think the Emmys and obviously like HCA I feel
Yeah.
I'm glad we had so many nominees in these categories because
Yeah.
I feel like there was enough where people were honored. There were enough people honored in every category of like, yes, where the Emmys were a little bit different because I was like, where's so and so? What?
Yeah, it just boggles my mind. I don't know anybody that loves The Gilded Age. Like that show is so boring. I mean, I only watched the first season. I was bored out of my mind. And you've got all of these other shows that people love, and it doesn't get any, they don't get any Emmy love at all.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
bizarre.
certain things,
The only reason to watch The Gilded Age is to spot the Broadway performer. Like, oh, there's because it's got tons of Broadway people. I mean, if they sang, it would be better, but I don't know. I was totally underwhelmed by it. I was totally bored. There was nothing about it that made me want to like watch it.
Yeah, I
more.
never got into it.
No, it was so boring.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Emmys, I'm just like,
Yeah.
who cares?
Well, that's why I said, listen, I think we nailed it with the Astras. I was excited to see everybody who made I also voted. I was part of the nominating committee. So I was excited. I'm like, this is a good year for television. And I'm really glad to see the people that made, that have been nominated. It's
Yeah. So let us know what you think, what you've been watching, what we should definitely catch up on, what you think about our different opinions, especially about Bridgerton. Put in the comments. I've got tons of Bridgerton coverage over at Hallmark's podcast. We broke it down, part 1 and part 2, everything going on. So there's lots over there. So check that out. And thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
always hang out anytime.
Yeah. So if people want to follow you, how do they do that?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at The Savvy Scribbler, and on TikTok at Sari Tales.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure that you're following over at Hallmarkie's podcast. Again, lots of good content as far as the Way Home recaps. We had My Lady Jane recap. We have When Calls the Heart, Heartland, All Creatures Great and Small, all recapped over there. So check it out. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. I would really appreciate that. And check out the playlist for all the Female Film Critics panels episodes. So much fun. We're coming up on 60 episodes that we've done. So take a look at that. And check out the Patreon. That's the biggest way you can support. I really, 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 really appreciate that. And we have watch-alongs and other perks. So we definitely try to make it worth your while. And then we have the merch store, which is really fun. So take a look at that. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.